This is the E of Real Estate. My name is Rene Stevens. I'm your host today. And my guest is Rasmus Gaupp-Berghausen, researcher of qualities of water, vibrations and the law of resonance. And he lives in Altach in Austria. Rasmus Gaupp-Berghausen is the founder of Aqua Quinta and the Sound of Soul. We will go into that further during this podcast. He studied landscape architecture and planning, did agricultural science and studies on water, and in 2004, in cooperation with Dr Masaru Emoto, the author of the famous book Messages of Water, he founded How to Live Europe for the evaluation of water. His latest work is about the heart rate variability, HRV, and health and well-being. And through algorithms, the HRV vibrations are in real time translated into audible sound and visible colored light. And he called it the Sound of Soul. So welcome, Rasmus.
Thank you.
In this podcast, I would like to explore your insights about how our body, the thoughts, and the law of resonance interacts with its surroundings, being the outer environment. So it is not only the physical buildings and rooms where we are in, but also the digital space and even the social environment, so the people around us, and how that also fires back to the inner environment, mind, body, heart and soul. You transformed from a scientific non-believer approach of H2O, I saw on one of your previous podcasts, into a more open-minded approach of water being the whole as more than its parts. So a more holistic balance of left and right brain. And it was the work of Dr Masaru Emoto, and working closely together with him for several years, that sparked this transformation of yours even further. Could you tell us something about this metamorphosis and how it changed your worldview?
Yes, well, yes. I started to study ecology in Austria and in Denmark. Then later it became landscape planning, and later it became agricultural science. And I love to learn a lot about science. Was always I love to conduct research, do different kinds of studies. This was also during my study time. And it was quite funny. I could hardly master my high school exam, but in university it went very well. So I could finish all my studies with quite good grades. And I thought that I have maybe achieved or learned quite a lot during the universities. And this is also which makes one maybe a little bit arrogant, or let's say a little bit, you're just too secure. You think you know so much about science. And and then I stumbled, or I met Dr. Emoto, and I just thought in the beginning, this is completely a hoax, because we know everything about water. That's at least what I thought, more or less. So there's a few mysteries, but we know so much about this. And but anyway, so I thought it was some voice, maybe my mind said that there must be something there still. I got from a professor in university, I got a book from Victor Schauberger. This is an Austrian researcher, Austrian forest engineer in the 30s, 40s, last century. And he said that if you change, let's say, the structure of the water, the spin of the water, the properties of the water, you can get completely different results. And this I thought was quite interesting. But anyways, when I heard about Emoto, I thought that this is more esoterics, because I also still up to today, I don't want to believe too much. This is not so much my approach. I think even if we believe almost, even the scientists believe almost most of the things they do, they believe, because at the end they try to find an explanation what they do. But still, I think very important is always to question, and to everything, also now in politics, now in all this Corona time, question is, I think is like a life force. So it's like a thrive to really to keep on going. And when I saw Emoto, he invited me to Japan, And I worked in his office, and I thought in the beginning, this is completely nonsense. Still, even he was so polite and invited me. It started like this, that my father organized concerts, and I helped him. He's a musician, my father. And then we got the idea that we make concerts, and in between we invite different lecturers, different people, talk about water, about architecture, about everything what we thought was interesting. This was what we did. And then we invited, of course, Emoto too. And that's how I got in contact with him. And then he invited me to Japan. And when I did the first studies, because Emoto says, if you take a glass of water and you pray to the water, it becomes beautiful under the microscope. And this is, of course, very difficult to put in scientific terms, because you say, what is a prayer? What is, and all this kind of things. He said, if you take a picture, an image, and you put the water on the image, the water resonates with it and you get a nice picture. And when I went to Japan, I tried these experiments and they didn't work. I must just say they didn't work. It was coincidence. So I thought, Emoto, this is a hoax what you're doing. But he said, but he was quite, the beauty of Emoto was that he never discussed, he never argued. He said, okay, then it's a hoax. Keep on trying or do this and that. And then he gave me a good hint, and he said, try to work with music. It's much more easy. So I took a glass of water, placed it between two speakers, played Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, whatever. And to my big surprise, I could see that there are many more beautiful results under the microscope. And this a little bit, surprised me, or a little bit struck me, I must say. And then I got curious about this. And then I tried with different researchers that we put a label on the water, something nice, written like, I love you, or something beautiful. And then we covered the label, and the other person who made the research did not know what was written on the glass. And then the results were, we couldn't get actually good results. And then the interesting thing is, then we continued, and we said, even when I wrote something beautiful and I covered it, and I told the other person we wrote something negative, then the person hardly got nice results. And if you said there's something nice written, they got good results. So it was very interesting for me, this kind of research, that the attitude you have while you do this research has a huge impact. So actually it's true what Emoto said, but it's not that simple, because we humans, I think, we come later to the topic, is especially our heart has a big magnetic field, and our whole human, the whole body has a field. And when I read something beautiful, I resonate with it, and I can emphasize this. And if I see something disgusting or terrible, I can make it worse. And water doesn't care. It just reacts on the vibration. So I don't think there's good or bad. That's where I later came to, that there's either harmonic or disharmonic. That's more what it makes. And so today, I must say, Emoto is completely right with his work. He was, of course, he died 2014. He was a great philosopher. He was not a scientist in a normal term, but sometimes you have to come from different angle, because he was working as a journalist when he was young, and he did completely different things. And later he started to treat people with water, but he was not a scientist in a normal term, a regular term. So he didn't study in university, water chemistry or physics or anything like this. And this was maybe a good thing for him, because that let his mind still open for new ideas. And I must say, of course, he's right today that water reacts on external influences, and they can be manifold. It can be electromagnetic, it can physics, it can be things probably cannot even understand. It's, of course, temperature. There's so many different things water reacts on. And so I must say, when I saw this, to your question, at the beginning, I was very, very skeptical. I was never an Emoto follower. I never thought that he's the big guru. He was nice, wonderful gentleman, but he was like all of us. Like he loved to drink a good wine and smoke a cigarette, and he wasn't like a guru just meditating 24 hours. He was a guy who loved to have a good time in his life, drink some good wine and have a party. But he was also very curious, and he was very intuitive. So he could very good find new ideas. And so this was my approach, and I could see that there's much more to water than we know yet. But after 20 years, now it's about 20 years that I do this research. I work with water, make this water crystals. I mean, 2004 I opened the laboratory. Now we have 22 now. 2002 I finished my studies. So it's about 20 years that I finished university, and I do this work. And after all this year, I must say I know hardly anything about water. I'm just curious. I see it reacts on harmonics, on light, on infrared, on many things. And the more beauty a shape, the better it is. That's I can really conclude after all these years. So beauty is a quality. That's very important.
Yeah, that is a nice bridge to my next question, Rasmus. Because we have a similar motivation for doing what we are doing, to understand and distinguish quality from quantity. Or maybe you can even add on feelings at the side of quality and costs on the side of quantity. And the definition I mostly use is what is quality? Fit for purpose. So the question is, what is the purpose and for whom and when and how long? But you also have a nice definition I read, that it is the interaction of vibrations or frequencies between water and a person. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, because this quantity and quality term, I was working, I opened for Dr. Emoto the laboratory, the international laboratory 2004 here in Europe, and I started doing all kinds of work, testing water samples from all around the world, different devices to improve water structure and so on. But I got to a point where I could not, where actually I wanted to quit the job because Emoto couldn't explain it to me. He just said, this is beautiful. This is nice, this is good, this is bad. And I said, well, this is not scientific. I want to understand it a little better. And then I was very fortunate that I met a wonderful gentleman, you know him too, I think that's Dr. Ibrahim Karim from Egypt. Yeah. And Ibrahim, he invited me to Egypt, and I visited him several times. He came to my office. I tested his different biochemistry parts. And he gave me a very good link about this quality and quantity. And then also I researched, and this was also quite funny before I met Dr. Karim, was that I started to research a lot about the Pythagoras, about all this teaching. And that then when you take a monochord, just like a string, you can have quantities like half the octave and 2/3, listening to the fifth interval and so on. These are all quantities, but that's where quantities meet qualities. And that's very interesting. So if you take a string from a piano and you make exactly half of the string, you see that's a quality because you hear the octave. If you divide it not by 2, but maybe by 2.135, whatever number, it's also interesting division, but our ear would say there's no quality anymore. It would sound wrong. And now I think in nature, this is the interaction. The thing is that one vibration always want to interact with another vibration. I think this is a law in the universe. So if you sit in the pond and your friend sits in the pond and you make a wave and he makes a wave, they always want to interact. That's just how law works. And every vibration tries to not conquer the other one, but they want to communicate. Communication means to receive. And so you receive the other one, and then they start to get a new one. And that's what I think is happening with the water. So then, because I had the problem with Emoto also that I couldn't explain it. I just saw what is happening. I saw nice crystals, I saw not nice crystals. And the biggest problem I had was the research itself. So if you sit in the laboratory by -5, -10 degrees, and some days you make very good results, some days you make hardly any results. I had people working in my laboratory, I had several people, some couldn't make crystals and some were very talented. Emoto said the same. In Japan, he had some who were really good and some not. And I couldn't understand it in the beginning because we did it very accurate, the same. And then understood later that it's a case, it's a sake of resonance. And I understood that our brain, our thinking, our thought is very limited to resonate. And that's where I came later to this hard topic. Because because the thing is like this, that we are a part of the universe. So we, of course, the mind separates us and says, you are from Netherlands, I'm from Austria, or whatever. But actually, it's the mind who separates us. And the mind separates us also from resonance. Because if I dance with a wonderful woman, we get in resonance. But if I think, where's my next step? We cannot get coherent anymore. Because resonance is first that I see this wonderful woman, and resonance, and then the coherence is that these two vibrations starts to interact. And now the problem is that our mind, and this Emoto couldn't explain me this, that our mind actually is the biggest obstacle for making a nice crystal. That's the interesting thing. And then I saw later, for example, that children playing with water, I get the most beautiful crystals. And then from some, let's call them esoteric gurus who think they know so much about spirituality, so little was happening. So this was for me the quantity and the quality. Back to your question, because I made research with several hundred people focusing on a glass of water, standing around. Yes, we had 100 people. Once we had 400 people. And sometimes, and then you think 400 people focusing on the water, trying to improve it. This must be the best crystal ever. And then you have a little child, a little baby, 2 years old, playing with the water, just, wow, this is sweet. And you get much more beautiful crystals. And then you see quantity and quality. There is a big gap. So the quantity does not, make sure that you get a good result. It can be. And then I saw that this is because the big problem with the water is that if I think that I can improve the water, I have two big mistakes. One is that the I, the me, the illusion of the I, what the Buddhists say, that I'm separated from this water. Yes, so this is like now and the second big mistake is that I think that I can make it better. So there is a judgment also. And both actually lead to the result that I disconnect to it. That's like when you dance with a woman and you think, now I want to impress her and whatever, you will stand on her feet and you have to get in resonance. And this is the thing. And this is with the quality, I think, is that quality is when two vibrations actually start, you could say double or triple, they really it becomes a new effect. That's like when you have this nice instruments and nice building, I think then it starts to resonate with quality in the surrounding. Mm-hmm. So this is, I think, is quality, and it's not necessarily of quantity numbers, because we tried, for example, to test water very quantitatively. We made 100 crystals of this water here, and then we took all the pictures, and then we tried to say, okay, how much percent do you get from this water? Like how good is this? We tried to make a scale from 1 to 100%. But after 1.5 years, Emoto and I, we dropped this idea because it's very difficult. You can test this water and you make 50 samples. Normally we do 50. And maybe I get 3 amazing crystals and maybe 47, not so special. And then we changed the approach and we said we will focus always on the beauty. Mm-hmm. So this is because it's like if you have a huge garden with 5,000 flowers, but if you have the one pristine flower there, this is somehow, we look for the quality. This is because this one flower can change maybe more than all the other flowers. So this is like if you have a sacred building. So you can change so much with this. So this is about the quality. Yeah, and the quality, I think, is numbers coming together in a mathematical term, and vibration, if they resonate and they somehow, like I say, like the quintessence for me is mother and father and the baby, because it's the Holy Trinity. You have a string, half of it is the octave, but if you divide it in 3 parts and you let 2 parts vibrate, you hear the 5th. That's why we say quintessence. So the quintessence, that's why we have 5 fingers. The highest resonant note, what is at least in my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, is the 5th interval, do, re, mi, fa, so, do, re, mi, fa, so, 1, C, G in German, C, G. Because we are 2/3 water, and water is vibration. So if you take from a string, let 2/3 vibrate, you hear the 5th, and water is vibration, of course. So because the HO2 molecule makes so many vibrations. So our interval we like the most is the 5th, is the quintessence. So if a woman and a man have fun, the quintessence of their life is this baby. That's the Holy Trinity, not Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. This church made this. Maybe this is also very romantic, but for me, it's the woman, the man, and the child, the God. And this you see this in sound. And when I take now back to, let me to finish the question about quality, when I take the fifth interval, I get the most beautiful crystals. I can just stress to everybody who makes this research and try to take a fourth, whatever, octave, whatever interval. The fifth interval, I get the most beautiful crystals. Because I think not because it's better than the fourth interval, because myself, my body is tuned into that. That's like my basic tuning. Yes. So that's the quality.
Yeah, so it's indeed about law of resonance, as you say, because I want to connect it with the environment as a bigger whole than just only the water. So you were talking about structures of water molecules, and now see if you can make a jump to a whole building or a whole human being. You did that already by the law of resonance. And so how, to your understanding, does the digital environment place in this, like the 5G and the Wi-Fi signals? Do you have any thoughts about that? So other electromagnetic frequencies in general?
Well, there are many things I think we have to think about. I think, of course, nature, the most, I think, if we should maybe describe nature to an alien who visits us, I would say, what is nature? If imagine there comes an alien from a digital world, as just it could be just as an imagination, and he would ask, what is nature? Because he could say, I have all the machines. For me, nature is that there is nothing in the universe twice. There is no Rene from the Netherlands twice. Maybe there's one who looks a little bit similar like you, or maybe one looks similar like me, but there's never twice. So the universe is always unique. Every snowflake falling from the sky is unique. Why is it unique? Because the moment the little water drop falls down, the vibration surrounding this drop is always unique. And it will make a unique crystal. So if I should say something, I don't know, philosophically, maybe to quote me when I'm dying or whatever, I would say, if the universe would make two snowflakes which are the same, the universe would collapse. It would die, because the whole principle of the universe is gone. Because repetition is death. That's just what I think. And our world is very repetitive. And now the thing is like this: if we have a machine, we have to develop new machines. We have to develop biomachines in the future which resonance with nature. This is, I think, is the future. But this is, maybe we can go further in the detail in a sec. But now the thing is just, if I have a mobile phone, and I send a vibration out, then the sinus wave, it's of course a death wave, you can say, because it's always the same. But the wave, when it leaves the machine, or it leaves the sender, the device which sends it, it will start already how to interact with the surrounding.
Yes.
So a sinus wave, if you take a very little flute, it makes almost a sinus wave, but the sound, when it goes out, it starts to interact, echo with all the buildings, and then it will become more and more harmonic. So nature always tries to harmonize every vibration, even the electromagnetic waves we produce here in the machines. The problem is with this electro pulse vibration like we have on the mobile phone and so, the closer we are, the more pulsed they are. They are also pulsed 100 meters away, but I see just that when you take your phone here, or you talk like this with the phone, the effect is much, much less already. And I think that, how to say that, an electromagnetic wave we produce is, of course, lethal, you can say, because it's always the same. And the more we expose to it, the worse it is. Because in our heart, for example, that's why I love heart rate variability. We have not two heartbeats in our life which are the same. And we know the more variable your heartbeat, the better your health, the better you can adapt to stress. The more similar your heartbeat, the closer you are to whatever symptom. The same we see in nature. If we make I study the agricultural science. If we make a monoculture forest, all the trees the same, we need one pesticide, one little beetle, or maybe one big storm, and they will all fall. So life is, I think, the variability is something very, very important. And now, if we see, I think it's a very interesting question you have. If we build a house, or if you go to the Acropolis in Athens, okay, and you take now a measurement device and you measure one pillar and you measure the next pillar and the third pillar and so on, then we will find out they are all different. And you would say, they must have been drunk. How difficult could it be to make, I don't know, 100 pillars the same size? I say they don't have been drunk. They understood quality. So if you shape now a pillar, you will make it maybe roughly the shape it should be, but the final size you will make with a pendulum. Why? And this is I learned from Dr. Ibrahim Karim, and I made my own assumption. I didn't heard all of this from him, but a pendulum is half a string. Yes, and the pendulum goes in resonance. And if you build now a house, let's say 5:8 in the golden ratio, and now you have a little window, and now you can start to calculate how big the window should be. And then you get, I don't know, 3.7858 in length and diameter. And at a certain, you have to round up or you have to round down, because you cannot in infinity go down. And that's where you make the biggest mistake, because the smaller the number, the bigger the effect on the quality.
Okay.
And now the person comes into the human being who makes this pillar or makes this window. He can roughly say, this is the shape, I've calculated this. And later he takes the pendulum, or maybe not even the pendulum, just his own intuition and his own being and his own passion and everything. And he will create a Mona Lisa or Acropolis or whatever. And if you see the Acropolis, you would say, this is perfect. It's so beautiful. But if we will build it like normal architecture, pillar, 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 all the same size, we would say this is, I don't know, it would not have this living, how to say, this quality, this energy force. And this is, I think, or if you make an instrument, you can put all the nice components together, wood and all this stuff. But when you build it, you take the golden mean proportions, all this. But at the end, when you build it, it's your devotion and you are the tuning fork making this sacred instrument. And this is, I think, where I see where we as a human resonate with our doing. And if we only go into mathematics, and we should construct mobile phones in the future, whilst it's not impossible to make them harmonic. And this is what I'm testing. I'm testing all kinds of gadgets you can put on the mobile phone. And some are really good. It's really amazing. So Ibrahim is one guy. There are other guys. I have a great partner in Switzerland. I get amazing results with them. So I think this is the future where we try to get this quality into this quantitative devices, because otherwise they kill us sooner or later, because it's post. This is
yeah. You made an interesting remark about that composer or the architect has a huge impact on the end effect of his creation, be it a building or be it a symphony. And you can even say that like music interacts with a human and affects your mood and even your health in some cases, or all the cases actually, that when you walk through a building, it has an effect on your thoughts and on your mood, because there is frequency in that building because of the shape and the form and the colors and the materials and what have you more. You could even say that walking through a building is as walking through an instrument while it is being played.
Absolutely, because every building is an instrument. But the thing is just that most buildings are dead instruments, because if you would make them sound, if you would hit them, you know, I have some videos I can show with the triangles, you know them for sure, and the square, one vibrates beautiful, the square, for example, they don't vibrate at all, they cancel the sound out. So this is, Absolutely. So this is, there was an interesting guy, his name was Korf. He did the pyramids and saw that the height of the pyramid and the width of the pyramid is just like an interval of an instrument. Like if you take, this is the whole string, entire string, and then you divide it maybe 2/3 to 1/3, you have a pyramid. And this pyramid is a sound. And even every Gothic cathedral, you know, every Wimperberg, every window is a music interval. So they knew about this. And I think also in medicine, I met doctors and hospitals already where they said they only want to have, I don't know where it was exactly, where they were that strict, but they want to have doctors who play instruments. And I work, for example, in Brazil, there's a clinic with cancer patients, and they have, how to say, doctors who play an instrument. Beautiful, next to the cancer patient. This is amazing. This is healing. This is beautiful. And that's the same, I think, in architect. Probably that's why music is important. It's much more than just entertainment, and it's mathematics. We know mathematics derive from music, not the other way around. And the music is vibration, and the beauty is that even my little daughter with 9 years, even if she's not a I don't know, engineer, a musician, she would say, well, this music makes me happy, or this would make me unhappy. So this is where quality, because that's her vibration and the vibration of the music, and they both together create something new. And that's where the quality comes.
Yeah, exactly. It is it's not the sum, but it's the adding it together brings indeed new qualities. It is not the sum of the individual qualities of the instruments or the whatever the parts are. Yeah, that's completely true. Like, you know, the famous quote from about architecture is frozen in music. I call it architecture is a symphony of form, because the form and the shapes create something like an instrument. When you make a violin, the shape has a huge effect, and the material about the end result. And you call it sound of soul. Maybe you could go a little bit deeper into that. I understood you have some slides you wanted to share with us.
Yes, I can share.
What is it all about, and maybe catch up with the law of resonance, and then.
Yes, I'll share my screen here. I have prepared some slides. We can jump a little bit on. Let's go here. For me, let's say we can a little bit go through. That's how you make the water crystals. It's very simple. You freeze it. You see it through a uplight bright field microscope, and you magnify it, and then you see like the peak of a needle is like a tuning fork, and there you see the quality. It resonates with the surrounding, and that's where we get this hexagon, and there is where we get these beautiful crystals. And later it came also to my mind that in all cultures, no matter in the Netherlands, as in Austria, as in China, as in Peru, and in Africa, people distinguish between normal water and sacred water everywhere. Every culture had it. The Chinese had holy waters, and you can say either they have been all completely nuts, stupid, or they were people who knew about quality. And quality is reflected in a beautiful smile on your face, or in a beautiful shape, or in harmonic forms. And so all cultures had holy water, and holy derives from healing, and not other way around. So if something heals you, you said this is holy. This is a holy person. A holy person is a healer. It does not need to have a doctor degree, but it's somebody who helps you. A mother is a healer. And so whatever, and okay, let's go here to mother. And then I conducted research where I put an ultrasound, a pulsed vibration. I put it to amniotic liquid, and I could see that it changes the form of the amniotic liquid. And then the interesting thing is that it not only the ultrasound, of course, the ultrasound has an effect. I think it's an amazing tool. It saves life. We should not neglect this tool. But an ultrasound is a stress. It's like the sound of a smoke detector. So that's why baby close their ears, and the mother tries to, and says the baby tries to escape from the ultrasound. But the ultrasound is important. But then I saw that the attitude of the mother had a very big effect. So if the mother was afraid of the ultrasound, the amniotic liquid looked completely different than when the mother was completely in her center. So if we now, back to our topic, mobile phone, if we are afraid all the time, oh, it will kill me, it will harm me, it will harm me, we resonate on a negative way with it. And we have a saying here where I live, it says, fear to death is also dying. So if you're afraid so much, but for me it was very interesting thing, so the attitude of the person changes very strong our liquid. And then back to Emoto's work, I had the problem, it was really a problem, I could not make a beautiful water crystal for everybody. Imagine you come to me and you say, I have meditated with this water, show me how good this water is. And then after 2 days of testing, I must say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get a nice result. So you would be maybe upset, I would be disappointed, or whatever. And this, we had many times this case. Until we got to the point, Emoto and I, we discussed this and we said, we're not going to test people anymore. We make no crystals anymore for people. It makes no sense because everybody is beautiful. We could just see the more you want to change this water, the less it works because you separate from it. It's not working. And then I stumbled over this idea that the heart frequency is what it's all about. Because the heart is the biggest resonator. Your heart and my heart wants to resonate. And this is not esoterics. For me, it's physics. It's like 2 tuning forks. I have here 2 tuning forks. And if you have a tuning fork and you, I hope it's not too loud. You hit the tuning fork, the other one vibrates. This we know. We don't have to finish this experiment. You know, the second vibrates. This is just a resonance. A very, very simple experiment. I have here behind tuning forks. Maybe you see. This Emoto, when he made, now you can hear it. You can hear literally. I hope you can hear the sound. Okay. You hear the sound?
Yeah, slightly, not that well.
Okay, but Emoto many times in his lecture, he took a tuning fork and then he started to sing very loud until the tuning fork starts to vibrate. He loved to do this during his lectures. A very simple, form of resonance. And resonance is you hit the tuning fork and the same tuning fork, starts to vibrate. Mm-hmm. If it's different, it hardly vibrates. And if it's the same tuning, just 1 octave, 10 octaves, 100 octaves higher, they also vibrate. And that's in nature, this is something I found coincidentally in the internet. This is from Fraunhofer Institute. If you take muscle cells and you cut them out and look under the microscope on the muscle cells, you can see that they still vibrate. Even there's no heart beating anymore. And Mother Earth and the muscle cells, they have more or less the same frequency range, the Schumann frequency. So that's very interesting. So that's a resonance. And then we see the pH change, electricity, and so on. This is maybe too much. Let's jump over this. But so if I hit the tuning fork, all the other tuning fork starts to vibrate. And I think our tuning fork is the heart. And it's not just pathetic because the heart, but the interesting thing is that in all cultures, in all languages, we have saying like broken heart, listen to your heart, follow your heart, whatever. Now, the interesting thing is in electromagnetism, or the electromagnetic field of the heart is about 2,000 times stronger than the brain. And you know, if you have an electromagnetic field, the other electromagnetic fields interact. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. So where do you interact the most with another person? It's with your heart. And this is physics. And another thing is, your heart is variable. Because we know, at least Eckhart Tolle says in his lectures, that 90%, I think 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. What I've thought about Corona or about politics, or I don't know, about whatever you want, is pretty similar like yesterday. So it's not what I thought about my neighbor, or I don't know, about the woman next door or whatever. But the heart is always variable. We have a variability. And the heart always wants to connect with another. And the interesting thing is, if you are moved, if something really you like, you get touched to tears, you touch your heart. But when you get your expensive mobile phone invoice, you will touch your brain and think, oh my God, this was expensive. Yes, you don't touch your heart. Because the one thing is with the ratio and the one thing is with resonance. And also a mother, if a child is sick, every mother around the world, every mother, when the child is sick, what is the mother doing? She takes the child, puts the child on her heart, you can see it, and she starts to hum to give the child a comfort. She doesn't take the child and puts it on her brain. That she could do so, no? She puts it on the left side where the heart is. She puts it on the right side to make, you say, burp, you know, when drunk too much milk to get the air out of the stomach. But when it's touched and want to heal, she puts the baby to the heart. You have to see this. So this is the oldest form, you can say, of healing, is try to put the heart of one person to the other person close. And now the thing is like this, when I take the heart frequency of a person and I place the water to this or translate it into sound and light, I got beautiful crystals. And that touched me so much. And this was where the idea was born, to translate the heart frequency into sound and light. I'm not the inventor of the idea. The inventor to translate body frequencies into other frequencies, this is 40, 50 years old. This every watch can do something like this. But to take the heart frequency and translate this, I saw that this is, how to say, first I thought this would touch nobody. This would be completely, how to say, would not go around the world. But Emoto, he supported me very much. He said, this is the medicine of the future. And he took the first devices to Japan, and now I have it in 28 countries, and people from all kinds of the world, different, how to say, disciplines are working with it. So what we do, we take, as I said here, we take a tuning fork, and if you take here a string, let's say this is a string, that's now a USB cable, but that's a string. If you have here a string and you divide, and if you have the string and it vibrates and I have the same string next to it with the same tuning, the same tension, it will vibrate automatically. And everybody listening to this, I say, go to the next piano and make the testing yourself. Open the lid, make sure that all the keys are open, so that you press the pedal, and then you press the do, for example, and then you go with the fingernail over the strings, and you will see the next do and the next do and the next do, all the octaves vibrate on your fingernail without you have touched it. That's resonance. So the biggest resonance is always the octave. The second is the fifth. So if you go with the finger over the strings, we will see the octave is strong, but the fifth is also vibrating, and the octave, and so on. Why? Because the fifth is the quality. The octave is just, it's like a binary code. It's just doubling. It's like if you see the picture of your grandmother, very small or very big, it says nothing about the quality. She can look angry to you, or she can smile with all her heart to you. Yes, this would be the octaves. So, and if I take the fifth, I would take a quality out of this picture. That's why Hahnemann made LM potences, Q potences. That's Hahnemann made only dilutions. He made octaves and fifth. That's what the homeopathy it's about. But people don't know. They think just it's doubling. And the most important thing when you make a homeopathic remedy is the person who makes it, like the mother cooking the food. Okay, but so these are the intervals. And if I want to translate something without any, how to say, distortion or manipulation, I take the octaves. If I want to improve it, I would take the fifth. And now, but I take the octaves because my assumption is there is nothing better in the universe than your heart. I don't have to correct nature. That's arrogant. That's what other people always think. You need this frequency, you need this and that. I say this is for me completely nonsense. Because if I would say you need this one frequency, this is death. You need 432 hertz. Of course, I'm also based on 432 hertz, but there's much more. It's the overtones coming. That's the quality. Because if you play on a plastic violin, 432 hertz, it sounds disgusting. And if you play 440 hertz on a Stradivari, it sounds beautiful. So there's much more than just one number. to the quality. But back to this, so you take a tuning fork, you double it, and they all vibrate by themselves. Now we take the frequency of our heart, of the autonomic nervous system, between 0 and 0.44 hertz. That's where sympathetic and parasympathetic range is. That's from the heart rate variability. That's something just where doctors and scientists have empirically, discovered over the years. So this is the frequency range. And now the frequency range we hear is about 20 to 20,000 hertz. A dog hears maybe to 30, 40,000 hertz, a dolphin maybe to 80, 90,000 hertz, bat maybe to 200,000 hertz. And in nature, it's always like this, that everything develops in a frequency window. We see from 2, we hear from 2, our muscle cells vibrate from 2. So this is a range we can say we operate. So the range the autonomic nervous system operates is about 0 to 0.4 hertz. Some say 0.5 hertz, but let's say this is the range. Then we have the range we hear, it's from 20 to 20,000 hertz. And then we have the range we see, it's from 400 to 800 trillion hertz. You can divide it by the speed of light and you have the wavelength, the nanometer. Okay, so now you can imagine your heart is a tuning fork, wants to resonate with me or with your neighbor. But I could say, oh, Rene, I'm not so spiritual or not so sensitive, I cannot. Maybe I'm so stuck in my mind, I cannot feel it so good. Mm-hmm. But there's something which is the strongest vibration for us humans, I think, to make a coherent field, that's music. Because music is not just, music is for us the best communicator in a vibrational term. I cannot say, oh, this electromagnetic wave from the mobile phone. Music is where we talk, where we communicate the easiest. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is, if the little cell divides, if mother and father, when they had fun and made the baby, the cell starts to divide. How to say, the first organ is the heart and the second is the ear. Very interesting. Not the eyes or the brain or whatever. And so it's very interesting. And it's said that our ear can distinguish up to 200,000 signals per second. Scientists found out. I can just repeat this. I don't know how they did this. But the interesting thing is that our ear is much more accurate than our sight. Because if you close the eyes and listen, and I play a note, and then I play the octave, you would say, this is the octave. Very accurate, even if you're not a musician. But if I would take a length, let's say the length of my room, the height, and I would say, where's the middle? We would 100% be wrong. We would not be very, very completely accurate. We can be maybe train us a little bit to it. But with our ear, we are much more accurate. And the interesting thing is also, in German, we have the word aufhören. Maybe you know a little German. Aufhören means listen. But aufhören means also to end something. So the moment you listen with all your senses, you listen now, whatever sound you have, your brain will be quiet. And this is why aufhören really means just you start to listen and then you become quiet. And so now we translate this frequency from 0 to 0.4 hertz to 20 to 20,000 hertz. And you must imagine, let's take 0.4 hertz. If I double this, 0.4, 0.8, 1.6, 3.2, 6.4, 12.8, 25.6, now we're already in the audible range, above 20. So our heart is like a tuning fork. It vibrates and a certain sound will say, hey, I'm just the same. Just translate it into another frequency range, in the frequency range of listening. And then we continue, let's say, 2,000 hertz, 4,000 hertz, 8,000, until we reach trillion hertz. We divide it by the speed of light, and then we get the wavelength. We get the color. And then we can see, and now we go further. What color has our heart chakra? It's green. And why is it green? I wondered, and nobody could explain it to me. I couldn't find it in no literature. Have the Indians been drunk? Have they been stoned? Did they got intuition? Where did they get this from? And the interesting thing is, if you start to calculate it, I start here. I don't know if you see on the very left side, you see 1 red.
Yes.
And if I double 1 vibration, it's 2.
Mm-hmm.
4, 8, 16, 32, and so on, 256. I can continue. All the next 1, 3, 9, these are always the 5th interval. Okay. So in this direction is the 5th, and this direction is the octave. And you see in the very bottom, I have only Tesla numbers. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. This are the octaves. And later I get 3, 6. And later all the numbers are until infinity, always 9. The square sum, if you put them together. Like 432. 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 2 is 9. Okay, but just to continue. So I have here 1. And my assumption is in mathematics, everything starts with the number 1. Not with 5 or 7 or 0 point, whatever. It starts with 1. Like the universe with 1. I just have to say to my daughter, but I will call her later. Okay, she's just asked when she should come. Okay, I'll tell her later. Everything starts by the number 1, like 1 universe or 1 whatever. And later it's divided by 2 or whatever. So it's 1. And then we continue. We take 1 string. It vibrates 1 time. And now I make half, it vibrates 2 times. Now it vibrates 4 times, 8, 16, 32. So I continue and I come to 256, which is the natural sound of Do. And I continue double until I reach 1 trillion hertz. And then I divide it by the speed of light. These are the pink columns. And then you see the number 1 became green. So the number 1 is green. Number 2 is blue. So 1 is here, 2 is here. So it's a spiral. The chakras is a spiral, a 3-dimensional spiral, not a linear from root chakra up to the crown chakra. This is, I think, nonsense. People always copy. They don't ask. And they must have copied from the chakras. And an Indian, I think it was Abhay from New York. I think it was, Abhay from New York, a wonderful architect working with light, yes. Atwa. Yeah. He said that in old Vedic, the first chakra is the heart. And this makes for me sense because the first is the heart. It's 1. That's where everything starts. And so we have here the chakras. And so if you take now, we can play piano, we can play color. So the chakras, maybe they counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from below. But in reality, 1 is the heart. But the colors are right. The numbers are wrong, I think. But it doesn't matter. I think the first chakra is the heart. But anyways, you see that the heart is green and the sound La, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La is this yellow-orange color. And this is what we can do and we can translate this. And this is how Sound of Soul, I take this variability and we translate it into light. All this, we don't have to go into all this. This is all about heart rate variability. I don't know if we have to go so much into this. But this is when the Sound of Soul idea was born, that I take the variability, I put electrodes on your body. I take a piano, like an e-piano, where natural sounds are recorded. And your heart says now, I play a Do, I play a La, I play a Re, a Mi, a Fa, and so on. Because you're variable. So you can encounter your variability in sound. And we continue, as I said before, if you play a Do, the light shines green. If you play whatever, Do, Re, it shines blue. Mm-hmm. So this is the idea behind this. And then, how to say, the variability. And now you can separate it into more parts. I can take, this is mathematically wrong, this image, but this is just to understand. I can take this whole frequency range from 0 to 0.4 hertz, divide it in subparts, and then you can play several instruments. And then I can continue even the idea and say, I split it into several parts. I take 2 parts of your heart and 2 parts of your neighbor's heart, or your wife, or your child, or your patient. Because, as I said, the heart always wants to get coherent. And now the interesting thing is, when you are exposed to music, you have only 3 options. You have 3 options when you're exposed to music. You can either get coherent with the music, dance with it. You can turn it off. Say, I don't want to hear it, please turn off. or you can leave the room. But you cannot sit in a room. So imagine your daughter comes inside now and plays the waltz. She plays, I don't know, put an old record on the record player and you listen to the waltz. Then you right away would start to move in the rhythm of the 3/4, because you want to get coherent with what you hear, because you cannot escape the sound. And that's what and that's actually the funny thing is, when we are exposed to vibration, we can either go with it, we can try to fight it, but we will lose, or we will leave. We have to leave. And the sound is the strongest.
May I interrupt you here for a question? So
Sure.
when I understand
Sure.
you correct, you could use it as a kind of monitor to get feedback about the person who's with you, or the surroundings you are in, or the electromagnetic smoke that is around you. Is that correct? That you get a resonance with it, or when you get the disharmonious sound, or I don't know what effect is with light, but they say, oh my God, I'm not in resonance with what is ever around me.
Absolutely. I could take this lamp here and translate just the noise, the sound into sound. But it will, excuse me.
So
it will sound like,
yeah.
Sorry.
So when you have such a device in your room, or in your office, or in your lecture room, you could visually or audible get a feedback about what is going on in that environment. Is that correct?
Probably, if we would start to translate all frequencies into the audible range, we could do so. But the question is, which do we take and how would it sound? Because if I take now, let's say an LED, a pulsed LED, I would get a sinus wave and it would say beep, it would sound like the smoke detector and we would all run out. And then the question is, what should I translate? And I think there is nothing better in the whole universe than your heart. That's the center of life. That's the center of you. And there's nothing better. And this is where also my understanding changed quite a bit, because I thought the young, handsome person will play nice with the healthy heart. And let's say the old, sick person will not play nice. And that's wrong. The person who comes in the moment of now, who gets present, plays beautiful. And the top model, maybe you think she is so beautiful, if she's in her head and thinks about how to impress you, or about her telephone bill, or whatever about in her mind, she cannot get coherent, and you can hear it. You would say, oh, this is not beautiful. But the moment you stop, you start to listen, aufhören, you listen to yourself, you start to play beautiful. And that's the amazing thing. And this is what touched me so much. So I had people with heart attacks, the moment they let go, sick people, they touched me so beautiful with their sounds. And this was the amazing thing. And this is what, so I think as long there is a heart beating, meaning as long you are alive, there is immense beauty inside. Because the heart, it's not you. The heart is the communicator with your surrounding. The heart is just a mirror. It reflects, the heart communicates with the sun and the light and your neighbor and your mobile phone and with everything. But the moment you let go from your mind, you can much easily get into resonance. And this is what I think. And the heart is like, if you have a speaker, you know, a speaker where you hear the sound, behind the speaker, you have a magnet. A magnet amplifies. So our heart is not only a communicator, it has electromagnetic field, our heart is also a magnifier. That's where we become the healer. And the healer, we are not going to say, oh, I'm going to cure you, Rene. I'm not going to do nothing. Because the I, the me, is an illusion of a little conditioned fool. It sounds maybe, but this is the fact. And the moment you're completely passionate, the most beautiful description of love I heard is that I am you. I don't know a more beautiful description of love. When you have, I don't know if you have children. I have 5 kids. The first time you hold your kid in your hand, you feel a love you have never felt before. Why? Because you see yourself, you see the perfection of yourself. You will jump out of the window or run into a burning house in fire to save this little this little worm. And so Babaji said, love is that I'm you. And if you think about the person, let's say you hate the most, maybe ex-wife or mother-in-law or whoever we don't are so happy. And if you, instead of saying, oh, she's stupid or whatever, if you think I'm her, forgiveness has taken place already. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do it because you cannot forgive. That's an illusion the Catholics thought they can do. Forgiveness has taken place already because you see the other one. And but now I don't want to become too esoteric here, but I just want to say that our hearts communicate, our heart magnifies, and our heart literally is music. This is actually what I think is. And then I could make beautiful crystals. I took water, played the sound of your heart to the water, and I got beautiful crystals. Mm-hmm. And this is how everything started. And I didn't want to develop something to heal people because I say to myself, I can hardly help myself. I just want to reflect the inner beauty of a person. And then maybe the homeopathic remedy or the antibiotics or the chemotherapy or whatever it is can work. But if you're completely closed and you cannot receive, yes, it can hardly work. So this is the idea of the sound of soul. And yeah, it's I'm quite, how to say, amazed how beautiful people work with it. So this is yeah, this is so you can translate it, take several frequency. We had how to say, this is, it's just the heart sound of a lady 40 years old. And you could play anything. This is the same lady, just now taken two other instruments, a violin and a flute, and you can hear how she plays it. And at the same time, we measure the heart rate variability, and I can see how the heart opens. I have the electrodes. I can see if I do a good job, or if I take sound where you say, "Oh, this is not." I can touch you. I can how to get in resonance here. And we had a girl in wake coma. After 3 days connected with her mother, she woke up in the university clinic. And how to say, and this is what we do. Oh, yes, and yeah, and as I said in the beginning, this is very nice. I can show the very touching. That's a mother nursing her child, and the mother plays the viola, the daughter plays the violin, and you can hear how they play. And before it comes, I want to show you another, maybe you know this already. It's beautiful. You can show this with metronomes. If you have many metronomes, after a certain time, they get coherent. You know, they work together. Mm-hmm. And to speed it up, you can take two cans and put a plate on this and put metronomes on it, and then you will see how fast they start to interact. That's a nice video. Huygens was the first who explained this, a Dutch guy. From the Netherlands, there were many amazing people in this field. Huygens was an amazing guy. There's another one, his name is Eindhoven, I think, who developed the AKG, the first AKG. I think his name was Eindhoven. I just have to see again. So there were several people actually working in that field 100, 200, 300 years ago already. So it's quite funny that this Huygens was the first one who could explain mathematically the phenomena of coherence. He could explain this because he could see that these pendulum watches, they start to communicate. And that's what I tried to explain. Imagine this is a Dutch guy and a German guy, an Austrian guy, an African guy. What separates us is the brain would say, oh, with this guy, I don't want to vibrate. But our heart would say, how stupid. The heart wants to get coherent. And this was actually my idea with the sound of soul, that I can connect a Palestine and a Jewish person, or let's say a Ukraine and a Russian person at the moment, or a husband and a wife, to see that our brain has caused the problems, and we cannot solve the problems of this world with the approach which has caused them. Einstein said this, it's not my sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So the brain has caused you fighting with the neighbor or you fighting with the woman. But the heart tries to get coherent. And if you would listen again, instead of arguing too much, we can maybe change a lot, and we can see this. And this is actually my idea with the Sound of Soul was not to make such a healing device, because I don't know what healing is. The body heals itself. I just want to emphasize this. But actually, it was for me like a device to show we can solve the problems by our heart on a scientific term, not by esoterics, because it's science. Anyway, this is just the video, you know. I just want to show you have 5 metronomes such on this, how to say, on this shelf and on this board. And if you put this on these 2 cans, you can see how fast coherence starts again. So if we would dance with our neighbor instead of arguing, if we would get, I don't know, clap and sing together, coherence develops itself again. And this is, how to say, and this is just the idea by sound. So here in this case, it's the mother playing the viola, the child playing violin. And of course, they're not the same, but you can listen how the 2 instruments interact. And at the end, I can make a beautiful crystal. So, and it's not composed, they play it. So I'll just stop it. We see the next. This is just that's, for example, very beautiful. In a maternity ward, they connected women when they were in labor, and they made a research when the womb was 4 centimeters open. They pressed play, and the mothers could hear their own heart playing. 1/3 of the women fell asleep during the opening phase, which is the most painful period. And how to say, and the pain they measured on 2 different subjectively and objectively went down up to 70%, because when you're so relaxed, it's different than when you are completely tight. And this is in different clinics. That was during, I've done a research now also in Italy during heart surgery. The person, while they operate on your heart, they can listen to the heart. So it's amazing. And this is a big psychiatric clinic here in Switzerland and wellness center. So you can connect the dog. The dog doesn't understand nothing what I'm saying. That's beautiful. And you can get coherent with your dog. These 2 persons on the left side, after a few minutes, they were both sleeping on this tile floor. 3 months old dog with the owner. Okay, and this is something very nice. I just showed recently. It's very nice. Next week I do it again to connect horses. The horse doesn't understand nothing what I'm saying, but the horse understands coherence. The horse understands if you resonate with the horse or not. They are much more intuitive and sensitive than we are. And this you see what the huge heart they have. And that's the beauty. And this is a horse connected with the owner. We put the electrodes on the horse. This we make the HRV. We make the whole heart rate variability here. It's funny to see the horse heart rate variability. And this here, I hope you can hear something. This is the owner connected with the horse. Disturbing chicken behind, but the horse didn't care. That's my device here. So, yes. So, yeah, this is, how to say, this is what I'm doing. And now maybe we can make a little break, and then I would like to show you in live.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Great.
yeah, so Rene, maybe I have been talking too much. If you have
No, no,
questions,
no, no, no,
please
not
go
at all,
ahead.
because it's so interesting. I didn't want to interrupt you so that people can hear your explanation without me interrupting. Really amazing, amazing. Because yeah,
Yeah, and it's still
sometimes
in the
seeing is believing, or you should first believe and then see. This how you approach
Yes,
the question.
and the thing is, it's first, I would say, in the Kinderschuss. So I think if there's so much research we can do into that, because this is really, I mean, imagine if a university would start making research in that field. I mean, there could be so much more, how to say, now big companies are approaching me, trying to find new solutions, making this. But for me, actually, my main understanding is not to make a very fancy, funny gadget to, I don't know. Before I started to study in university, I always wanted to become a Greenpeace activist. This was always my dream as a child. I wanted to stop the nuclear power and all this, ban the burn, all this. And then I studied ecology. And I still have this vision, I think, to not maybe, of course, stop this nonsense what's going on, but also to change something on this planet and to see that our brain has caused these problems. And we will not solve it by a car running by water, or I don't know, flying to the moon for free or whatever. This won't solve the problems we have. The problems solved are that our brain separates from our neighbor, and that my brain says I'm alone. That's what all, because the thing is, every esoteric, every spiritual way is corrupt. The Buddhists, as the Christians, the Hindu, and why are they corrupt? Because they have the timeline. If you do this, you will become, you will resurrect, you will have the afterlife, you will, I don't know, reincarnate, whatever it is. And this is a time process, and thinking is time. You need time to think. If you're 100% present, you cannot think. We're human beings, not human thinkers or human doings. And the thing is that I understand that my brain gives this illusion of me. This means that I have to make a little more profit than you have, that in bad times, I have something on the safe side. So I have actually literally to cheat you all my life to be on the safe side. This is our understanding between couples, between neighbors, between countries. But if you understand that the reason is the fear, is the illusion of the me, as the Buddhists actually nicely say. And this is, I think, instead of putting on my, I don't know, part a little more, if you give it to all the other ones, everybody would give something to you. So we would change the whole philosophy of and religion actually has caused, because religion is thinking. They try to put something very touching, beautiful into a law, into a book, into a Bible, into whatever, and make a principle out of this, and how to say, and then it becomes corrupt. And this is, I think, for me, the biggest teacher was Judy Krishnamurti, that you really question everything with a sledgehammer, because otherwise the teacher destroys the pupil and other way around. And this is, and for me, the thinking, this is actually why I developed the Sound of Soul. Was, of course, it's nice to help people, it's beautiful to learn, but to see that the hearts want to communicate and give this authority back, and the brain, because I think I have friends in Israel and in Palestine and different everywhere. In the brain, they have 1,000 arguments to kill each other, because they say you did this and that in history and so on. But the brain has caused this, and you will not solve this problem by the brain. And this is, I think, we have to change. And this is the time, maybe the amazing time we live in today, that we can take the technology and develop something crazy like this. But at the end, it's to understand. For me, it's an understanding. Yeah, because you can still say it's spiritual or esoteric. For me, it's science and physics of nature,
Yeah,
physics
actually,
of love.
what we discussed is the monitoring, so you get the feedback, and then you can, do something with it or not. It's, up to the individual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm hesitating to make make a remark, but a long time ago I saw in a swimming pool a sign to warn people: when you pee in the pool, there will be a color around the source. So that kept people by, oh, better don't do it, I think. Or maybe there was not even a color substance in the water, it was just psychological warfare. But yeah, in a positive way, your system gives you a feedback of what the actual condition is with whatever you are measuring. Wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
It's you could call it like a lie detector, but in a positive way, because because when I connect you and you, not lie is too hard word, but I say you could call it a presence detector, because the moment you become present, you can resonate with the surrounding, and you can receive, you can communicate, and you can play beautiful harmonic sounds much more than when you are in your brain. So if you want to impress somebody, then it's actually not you, then you try whatever. And the same I can hear if I connect somebody and they are in their brain, it hardly touches you. But the moment they let go, you can have, they're really not attractive person with all the problems. The moment they let go, they can touch you to tears. And that's beautiful. And that's to see really, and this is also why I try to develop this, is to show that the beauty is within everybody. No matter how old, how big, how small, which color, whatever. Because if I would say, okay, now you feel bad, and I say, you should listen to Mozart, which is beautiful. Of course, you should listen to Mozart because it's beautiful. But you have actually two problems. One thing is you are not Mozart. If you're very sick, you would say Mozart is beautiful. But I'm sick. Or I would say, Rene, now imagine you're sick, and I said, see how beautiful the nature, see how beautiful the sunset. You would say, this is all nice, but I am sick. Yes. But if I can show, no matter how sick you are, how beautiful you are, because as long there is a heartbeat, there is infinite beauty. Then you can really see it comes from yourself. That's beautiful. So you don't have this duality. And the other thing is about coherence. If you listen to Mozart or Strauss, you have to move to their rhythm, to their melody. It's not you. It's beautiful, it's nice, it's inspiring, it's all beautiful. But if I reflect you, it's already you. You are coherent already. There is perfection already. Yeah. This is my understanding. So I connected a lady in wake coma, and after 20 minutes, it's not a joke, she was humming to her sound. She was in wake coma, following her notes, her heart were playing. She was following them. I thought she takes me for a fool, or I don't know, but she was in wake coma. It's impossible. Or is it possible? I don't know. And now I remember I should write an article for a Swiss magazine. I forgot because they just ask how to, because with dement, it's dement, I don't know in English.
Dementia, yeah.
Dementia, exactly. Or Alzheimer, music has such an effect. And actually this would be an amazing field to go into, because you can connect yourself with your maybe grandmother who has Alzheimer and you cannot talk, but you could communicate with your heart with her. Imagine how beautiful.
Yeah, you could, when you are saying the heart is, your own heart is the most beautiful and the most perfect, you could go a little step further into the esoteric direction and say, actually, is it your heart or is it nature in general? You are nature.
Absolutely.
Everything is one. So it's not Mozart, it is just nature what you are connecting with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody has Mozart inside. And exactly. This is, and I think a genius like Mozart or whoever, they have been so, they of course they knew their tools, they knew how to write or whatever. But their real profession was that they are so entrained that we know. Yes. Einstein, he went out to the forest, there where he got his inspiration, not by calculating. Later he wrote it down. And that's absolutely, you bring it completely to the point. It's not you, it's the nature inside you, which is not you. It's exactly nature. It's life.
And what Mozart or Beethoven composed is actually, he was able to translate it in something else. And then people say, oh, this Mozart. No, it was his translation about this, about the source where he got it from. And that has everybody, that same source.
But every genius in this world, making an instrument, building a house, writing a novel, I don't know, whatever. I think that's where the genuine comes into, where you really, I mean, in esoterics, you say you become just a tool. That's the beauty. Yes. So that's actually what the thing is. And yeah, I think there could be much things to develop. I just love very much the bridge to science. If I see how the heart rate variability opens, and I see how a woman in labor, how easy it can go. If I see how an animal reacts on this is just, and at the same time, I have these numbers, and this is awesome to see. Well, the moment you let go, the variability increases. And I can also say, dear Rene, open your heart, because then you go into your brain, you try whatever, and it starts to close. Because the moment you think, I can see based on the heart rate variability if you think or not. Because the moment you think, your heartbeat becomes more similar. The moment you let go, you become variable. That's very, very interesting. And I can even see it by animals. A horse also thinks. A horse maybe doesn't think about the telephone, but the brain is also operating. And we could see different horses, and some horses are very, how to say, soft and very, how to say, and we could see it in the heart rate variability. And some horses are very skeptical, look at you, go a step back. We could see the heart is always closing. So it's very funny that the same we see in humans, we see in the animals too. They maybe don't think like we rational about, I don't know, a telephone bill, but they
that brings me to a thought that mind over matter, when the universe is everything and it's all energy. So when you think, you create a laser beam of that energy. You focus your thought, and then that is focused on one or less than the whole. So maybe that is going on. I thought.
Yeah, but thinking is condensed matter. And this is why you say in English, I found out, or I stumbled over it, it doesn't matter. It's very interesting. Why you say it doesn't matter? It's a very interesting expression. And of course, the thinking is an amazing tool. If we can think, we cannot build a house that it lasts for years. But the genius or the inspiration, or to be present, or the healing, there's a very nice saying. It says creation is intention plus attention. Yes. So I think if your child is sick, you have, of course, the intention to help your child. That's the intention. Intention means intention. Here's the sick child. Here is you. There's a problem. There's a tension. You want to solve this. That's intention. You focus only on the child. Now you found the best doctor, the best therapy, the best remedies, drugs, whatever. You give it the child. But now you have to leave this intention and go to attention. Attention means anti-tension, out of tension. Because now you have the nice remedy, whatever, and you swallow this, you put it on the skin or whatever, and now you have the possibility to let go. And that's where the attention comes. The same is in a relationship. If you meet a wonderful woman, you have the intention maybe to conquer her or impress her or make her aware about you. That's an intention. And finally, she found you and thinks that's a great guy, and you get married. But then you have to leave the intention. You have to go to the attention. You have to be attentive. Otherwise, it won't last too long. And this is very nice, the intention, attention. And the problem is that we are stuck in the intention. We have the intention to become spiritual. And if we stay in this intention, it's a waste of time. It's just corruption. It's just brain, because the brain is intentive, wants something. And the attention is just to be out, be present, be now. And this is the, and in the attention, the quality comes, because then you resonate with it. In the intention, you want to impress 500 people. And the attention, it doesn't matter, actually. This maybe sounds stupid, but this I learned from many lectures with Emoto. In the beginning, I thought we have to, I don't know, fascinate all the audience. At the end, I thought if one person of the audience understood it, I'm just more than happy, absolutely more than happy. Or if I understood it, I'm happy. So this is actually, I don't know, so yeah, very philosophically, but this is, the intention and attention. And the quality comes in the attention. Yeah, this is what I think. I don't know, but this is where, yeah, because when you see a beautiful building, you become very attentive. You resonate, you see all this, you see to the left, to the right, up and down. And this is, you become open. Attention means being open. Intention, you just focus on this one person on the other side and don't see the rest. Yeah, both is important. But I think the healing is, that's the same as the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is intention. Thinking is sympathetic. When you think, you go into the sympathetic realm. If somebody insults you, breathing, inhale is sympathetic. Letting go, exhale is parasympathetic. So it's very interesting. That's like both are important. But if you're always in the intention, becoming rich, becoming enlightened, whatever, achieve whatever, we end up in the heart attack. That's the funny thing, yes. So yeah, that's the thing. And I think the sound of soul actually is helping the person to get into the attention. That's the thing, to resonate with it. Yes.
Great.
So if you want, we can make, if you have not anything, we make maybe a little break. And I will ask my daughter, I will connect her. Yes. And then I would like to demonstrate this live, if that's okay for you.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Okay. So this is Amelie. Where is Amelie? Amelie, this is my wonderful daughter, Amelie. So.
Guten Tag, Amelie. Wie geht's? Alles Gute?
Yeah.
So I will just place her here. So she just relax back. Setz rutsch weiter hoch. Okay, wonderful. So she has to do nothing. I just need her heart frequency. I could connect myself too, but you will just see how sympathetic I am. Talking. It's much easier to connect somebody else. So, okay.
And the lights in the background is just decoration. It's not connected to you.
Yeah, this is just decoration. But I will take this lamp.
Yes.
We can connect this. This is the lamp from Philips from Holland.
Yes.
A company. I developed my own lamps, of course, two which are free of pulsation. This LED lamp from Philips is very strong pulsating. If I take an oscilloscope, it will pulsate. But Philips has the possibility that we can program into their system, and then I can use Philips lamps to translate the heart frequency into light, into this lamp. So I could use other LED lamps I have here in the background, very high, with mountain quartz and all kinds of lamps. We could connect them too. How to say? But I would try to demonstrate this now here with this Philips lamp. So now I will just share my screen again. Okay. Now you see here, this is my software, Sound of Soul. This lamp should react. Let's see if it reacts. Maybe I have to connect it first again. Let's see. Okay, it reacts here. You see it reacts here on the, I can just change this. Okay, so now what I'm doing now, I go here. I write Amelie. Inside, I take an instrument. Let's take the harps like before. And we take start. What is now? Okay, 1 second. Okay, 1 second. I just have a technical problem. That's nice sometimes. 1 second. So, 1 second. Okay, I just have to restart the problem. It's somehow with Zoom. Yeah, just a little technical issue. Let's see again if it works. Okay, good. Now it works. Now we go here. Oh, I see. I used before during. Now I'm back again. While in my explanation, I used the USB cable for explaining the octavation, and this is why my device was not connected. So I'm sorry, and this is just funny. Okay, so now it's supposed to work. Okay, so good. Let's see if it really works. It really should work. To just have this is always to a live demonstration. It sometimes, but we will make it. Okay, yes, it's working. Okay, so now I write inside my daughter's name and take an instrument, the harps. But funny enough, the light is not reacting. Don't know why. Why it does not want to react. Well, maybe I have to make another setting still. Now it's working. Okay, I'm sorry. This is live. So now you see here the heart is changing. You see on the screen the heart rate variability of my daughter. And now if the LED is red, she plays a G, now she plays a Do, Re, now she plays a, I don't know in English, I always have to, now it's a Do. So her heart is translated into light. Yes, I can make it a little bit less bright maybe. Okay, now you see this is the heart of Amelie translated into light. I take now not every heartbeat, I take every fourth heartbeat. This is more calm. And here we see live sympathetic, parasympathetic, all the different values. But now I go into can you hear the sound?
No, no, not yet. Yeah, now it's coming. Yes, this is better.
So we have here Amelie, I can place, this is her. So her frequencies is translated into harps now. And into light. And the operator becomes like the conductor of the heart. And now she's stressed, of course, because we watch her heart, but if it would be a therapy and she would completely let go, we could see how the sounds become greater and how the heart opens more and more. You see, I touch nothing, but it changes completely now. Now she starts to let go a little. And now, for example, she's very much in her head. You see how it's stuck. The cloud is quite close. And I cannot say, dear Amelie, open your heart, because then she will go more in her brain.
Yes.
If this would be like a therapy session and she could let go, we could see how it more and more and more starts to open beautifully. And this is how the whole system works. And then now I've connected one person. I just make the sound smaller, but I can connect two persons, her with me or her with her friend and so on. And then I split the instruments. Then this is the system actually I have to show. This is the system here. I connect her. It's blinking here now, synchron. And then I take her name, I write inside her. Take an instrument. Let's see if she's calm enough. Let's see this here. Now it's just taking the frequency of one person because just one is connected. This is her heart, you can hear. It's emphasized on 4, like a native drum, Sundance in America. She can sing overtones. And you can play any sounds. Here are mantras from Tibet. You have to imagine, it's like, I can make it a little bit, I don't know if you see this now, probably not, no, you don't see this window. And then I have to share the entire screen. But you can imagine her heart presses the keys of a piano.
Yes.
And I can choose what instrument there is, overtone singing or violin or trombone or pan flute, and her heart plays it. And now this is like a communication. So her heart plays, let's say, a note from the violin do, and she hears it, and then it becomes a communication. She reacts on this. And if she would play the trombone or the drum or the overtone, she reacts differently. So you start as the therapist or as an operator to find the instruments, and then she starts to play it. And that's how, and she can encounter herself. Here, for example, violins and violas. That's normally very difficult to play when you are stressed. That's one violin. Now I give another one. Third one. And now it sounds okay, but it sounds by far not what it could. Yeah. Because I'm talking, I tried to show it to you. She's thinking, what are they listening? But if she would play here completely relaxed, everything doesn't matter, as we said before. Yeah. And just so she would start to play that it would touch you to tears. And that's the beauty. And of course, if I just, sorry, yes?
I had the impression in this little demonstration that when she heard certain music, that her heart was opening up because the dots were more spread out.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you would see it much, much better if she would really let go, and she is not under observation. Mm-hmm. If she would lay, here, you get, Emoto always talked about the goosebump effect. Mm. So you really get goosebumps. It really touches you. And that's the amazing thing. So you can, this here is a setting I like to play very much. This is the taiko drum. Every second heartbeat of Amelie. And you see, if you follow the dots, you will see the dots, they move in a spiral.
Okay. Oh, yes.
I developed a software where you can, but we haven't finished this yet, where you can see three-dimensional, where the spiral goes. It's beautiful. But our heart is a spiral. It's energy going up and down. And our heart there's much more. But it's beautiful to see when you follow the dots, they move in a spiral.
Rasmus, when I understand correct, so you make visible and audible the source of one's heart, so connecting with real source or nature or whatever you call it, and that sound, when somebody else hears that back, will give a resonance, and that person will also connect to that source or that primal, how you say, origin. And that is what gives you goosebumps, because you are back to source.
problem. I just think that our heart is much more than a stupid pump. I think our heart is a communicator, is a resonator, is the source of inspiration. Inspiration coming from outside, entering the heart. The heart is our intuition center. The word intuition, the dictionary says something else, but for me, intuition comes from being in tune. Intuition, in tune. And you cannot be in tune with the brain. It's actually the heart, which is much more talented. Maybe it's the brain too, but the heart is more talented. So I think this is, as you said, this is you connect yourself. So this is, I think that the heart is like the conductor of the orchestra body. And now as I'm operating here, I become the conductor of, not of her heart, but I am conductor of the sound I'm listening. And then I start to play this. And of course, it will have a different effect when we play the shakuhachi than when we play the violin. And I cannot, and this is where the therapist comes into the picture, or the person, the best operator, a very intuitive listening person. So it's not a practitioner or a doctor who has 200 patients a day. They don't have time for this, of course. But if you are somebody who really is devoted, listen to the person, it's amazing, beautiful how this is. And yeah, this is, I just think our human body, I learned in out of books, makes per second up to 40 million body cells in 1 second. So there is intelligence in our body we can hardly comprehend. We cannot understand. This is amazing. No Nobel Prize winner will probably ever understand the amazing things the human body is. And I just think this amazing living thing we are, to translate this into a frequency form we can understand. And this is sound and light. This is the most obvious frequency ranges we humans can communicate with. And this is actually what I tried to do, and that they can encounter their own. And it's not entertainment, but it's, I would just say that for the brain, actually it's boring, because for the brain, after 10 minutes, we say, okay, I've heard this sound, this is nice. But for yourself, it's, I have had top manager in my office crying, like I said, wow, what I'm doing with these people now, because even if it's so simple, but they met themselves. Yeah, this is what I'm doing.
Great. One question comes to my mind. Now you are focused mainly on one person or a couple or two persons, but yeah, I could imagine that it will do something with a team of musicians, a team of football players, whatever, a team of a department in an organization.
I have top manager. I have one from a very famous company. I don't want to tell the name, but everybody knows the company. While he has business meetings, he lets his heart sound, which he recorded in a nice, calm moment before, run in the background. Wow. When he has a business meeting, he let them go. So how to say, of course, you could make live sessions. If you're an artist, you're a painter, you could, while you paint your picture, you could make your heart sound, and while the people go to the gallery and look to your picture, you could have headphones and listen to the heart while he was painting. I have a wonderful lady in Switzerland. She's a doctor, but at the same time, in her free time, she's a singer. So she records her voice and from friends, and she connects herself and the friend, and both mouths are shut, but the voices recorded before, played by the heart, are communicating. She does it as an art project. So many things you can do. I just want to show you now, I'll share my screen once here again. Here. Now, after this, you can see this is a heart rate variability. This is from Amelie's, the recording of her heart rate variability. I can see when she had most stress. I can see her total energy. I can see how wonderful, strong, parasympathetic force she has as a young lady. the ability to recuperate, the stress index, how flexible she is, all different HRV parameters. So at the same time, I can see how it affects her.
Mm-hmm.
This is very important. And to see how we can benefit out of this with numbers and facts. This is just to show a little.
Actually, in a way, bridging a gap between science and spirituality, I would say.
Yeah, I think this is the whole work I'm doing, because Emoto is very spiritual, I'd say, and at the same time, it was very difficult for me to put it in the scientific term. So, but I think it is science, of course. I think I had a nice event here in the neighbor village in a museum. They asked me to bring microscopes, so I brought 3 microscopes, and then the children, they were like, it's a natural museum, museum for nature, nature science, and so on. And then the different school classes came, and I got a big room, and I put my microscope there, and the kids could take a drop of their saliva, put it on a glass slide, and watch under the microscope how it dries. And it's very beautiful. If you are very centered and you feel very fine, the drop starts to dry from the outside nice to the center conically. If you're very eccentric, you can observe how the drops many times try to dry out to an edge. A very interesting observation. And when you feel very nice, very good, very centered, you can see very harmonic structures. And if you're very upset, very disharmonic structures. Of course, it would be coffee cup reading if you make a diagnosis out of this and say you have kidney problems. This is, of course, then you can go to Turkey and turn up your cup upside down, which is maybe also nice in science. But for this, we have medicine. But I can see, like, if you smile, it's something else than when you're upset. If I take your blood or urine or amniotic liquid or saliva or whatever, and I see harmonic shapes, it reflects you. That's amazing. So this is, and this was for the kids. And the interesting part of the story was that the teachers were very skeptical. They were all standing like this is nonsense. What? After 1 hour, the 3 microscopes were occupied by the teachers, and the children had to wait because they wanted to see it too. And this is very nice I think this is beautiful to, yes, for the kids to see how you affect. Very interesting gentleman, I knew him personally very well, was Dr. Kröplin from the University of Stuttgart. He took a syringe with water and had a whole audience full of students, and they all took the same syringe. It was passed from one to the next, and they all had to drop on a glass slide. And they could see that every student has their own influence on the syringe of this drops of water, even if it's the same one passed through the whole group. So this is to show how big influence we have and how strong water reacts. And so there's so much interesting in this field. So this is very nice.
Well, I think we could go on for another hour or 2 or so.
Well, Rene, thank you so much for your patience.
No. I'm the one who has to thank you for all the explanation and your time to share this with us. I will put your web address underneath on the YouTube channel, so that people can find you, and when they have questions, I assume that they can contact you directly, and whatever the question may be. So thanks again, and Amelie, vielen Dank für deine Mitarbeit. Sehr gut gemacht.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, so have a nice evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.